The year was 2157, and humanity had just made contact with aliens for the first time. The Galactic Council, a group of 17 different alien species, had been watching Earth for many years. Now they wanted to meet face to face. Earths united. Nations chose a small team of humans to meet with the aliens. Among them was Dr. Alan Carter, a professor who studied war and history. Alan had brown hair with some gray at the temples and kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He was known for his calm way of speaking and his deep knowledge of human conflicts. The aliens came in a giant ship that now floated above Earth. It was smooth and silver, 10 times bigger than the largest human spaceship. The human team rode up to the alien ship in a shuttle. Alan looked out the window as Earth grew smaller below them. His heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. "Remember," said Lisa Nguyen, the team leader, "we represent all of humanity today." Lisa was a top diplomat with 20 years of experience. She had sharp eyes and moved with purpose. Be honest, but careful with your words. The shuttle docked with the alien ship. When the doors opened, the humans saw their first aliens up close. The main species called themselves the Zet. They stood on 4 legs with 2 arm-like limbs and had skin that shifted colors like flowing water. Their eyes were large and completely black. "Welcome to the vessel of the Galactic Council," said one Zet through a translation device. "I am High Commander Zextral. We are pleased to meet humans in person at last." The humans were led through hallways that seemed to glow from within. They passed other alien species, some with tentacles, others that floated rather than walked, and one that looked like a collection of glowing orbs moving together. They entered a large room with a view of Earth through a giant window. A long table was set for dinner. The food for the humans looked like normal Earth food, though some dishes had strange colors. "We have studied your nutrition needs," explained Zexitral. "Please enjoy this meal as we talk." The humans sat down, feeling both excited and nervous. Other aliens joined them at the table. One species looked like tall insects with 4 arms. Another had fur covering their bodies and 3 eyes set in triangular pattern. As they ate, the aliens asked many questions about Earth. They wanted to know about human culture, science, and history. Alan noticed that many questions focused on wars and fighting. "Your species developed very quickly," said Zexotral. "Most species take twice as long to reach space after discovering electricity. But we notice you almost destroyed yourselves several times." Lisa nodded politely. "We have had our struggles, but we've learned from them." A furry alien with 3 eyes spoke up. "Records show humans still fight each other over resources, borders, and beliefs. This is unusual for species at your technology level. Most either destroy themselves completely or learn to live peacefully." The table grew quiet. The human team looked at each other, unsure how to respond. Alan cleared his throat. "It's true that humans still have conflicts, but the scale has decreased greatly in the past century. We're working on it." The meal continued. The aliens seemed fascinated by humans. They explained that the Council had been watching Earth since humans first sent radio signals to space. They had decided not to make contact until humans had united enough to speak as one world. "We almost waited longer," admitted Zextral. "Some Council members wanted to wait until humans had no more wars at all, but that might have been many more years." After the main meal, the aliens served a sweet blue drink that tasted like honey and mint. The mood became more relaxed. That was when Zextral turned to Alan. "Dr. Carter, our records show you study human conflicts and weapons. We are curious about something," said the alien commander. The room grew quiet as all eyes turned to Alan. "In all of human history," Zextral continued, "what would you say is the deadliest weapon your species has ever created?" The other aliens leaned forward, waiting for his answer. Alan could see they expected him to talk about nuclear bombs or maybe biological weapons. The human diplomatic team also watched him closely, silently urging him to be careful with his answer. Alan took a sip of water and thought carefully. He knew this question was more important than it seemed. His answer might shape how these aliens viewed humanity for years to come. "That's a complex question," Alan began. If you're asking about the weapon that could cause the most death in a single use, that would be our nuclear weapons. Several aliens nodded. This was the answer they expected. However, Alan continued, if you're asking about the weapon that has actually caused the most death and suffering throughout our history, the answer is different. Now the aliens seemed confused. Their translator devices made soft buzzing sounds as they processed his words. Please explain, said Zexistral. Alan took a deep breath. The deadliest weapon in human history isn't a physical object at all. It's an idea. The room went completely silent. Even the humans looked surprised. Throughout our history, Alan explained, physical weapons have killed many people, but ideas, particularly the idea that some humans are worth less than others, that concept has killed far more. The aliens' translation devices worked quickly, but the aliens themselves seemed frozen, trying to understand. I don't understand, said one of the insect-like aliens. How can a thought kill? When one group of humans decides another group isn't fully human or is less worthy of life, that creates the conditions for terrible acts, Alan said. We call it dehumanization. It has fueled our worst wars, our genocides, our cruelest systems of control. Lisa looked nervous, but she didn't stop Alan. The other humans at the table watched with mixed expressions. Our deadliest weapon has always been our ability to convince ourselves that cruelty is justified, Alan said quietly. Once you believe your enemy isn't really a person, there's no limit to what you might do to them. The aliens were very still now. Their body language was hard to read, but Alan sensed deep concern spreading through the room. This weapon, Zexitral said slowly. Do you still possess it? Alan met the alien's large black eyes. Yes, we still struggle with it. But we're more aware of it now than ever before. Many of us work to fight against it. Zextral's skin shifted to a deep blue color. Without another word, the alien leader stood up. We must discuss this privately, Zexitral announced. Humans, please return to your quarters. We will continue our talks tomorrow. As the human team was led away, Lisa whispered to Alan, What did you do? You could have just said nuclear bombs and been done with it. Alan shook his head. They asked, and if we're going to have a relationship with these beings, it should be based on truth. In their quarters, the human team argued about Alan's answer. Some thought he had ruined their chances for good relations with the aliens. Others believed his honesty was the right approach. As Alan looked out the window at Earth glowing blue and green below, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake or taken the first step towards something important. Either way, he knew the key. Aliens were now seeing humans in a very different light than before. And that was just the beginning. The human delegation waited in their quarters for 3 full Earth days. They had comfortable rooms on the alien ship with beds, food, and entertainment screens that showed information about the Galactic Council. But they were not allowed to speak with the aliens again. It felt like they were being kept away on purpose. Alan spent much of this time looking at the stars and thinking about his answer to the alien commander. Had he said too much? Not enough? The other humans were split on this question. Some thought he should have given a simpler answer about bombs or guns. Others believed his honesty was brave. On the morning of the 4th day, Lisa gathered everyone together. We've been invited back to meet with the council, she said. Her face was serious. Whatever happens, remember we are here to build a relationship between humans and aliens. Stay calm and think before you speak. Guards came to bring them to a new room on the ship. This room was much larger than the dining hall. It was shaped like a circle with raised seats all around like a sports arena. In these seats sat representatives from all 17 alien species. The humans felt very small as they stood in the center of this room. High Commander Zex Trawl entered last. The alien's skin was a deep purple color today, not the blue-green from before. Alan wondered if this meant something important. Humans, Zexitral said, we have spent 3 days reviewing your species' historical records. We have studied your wars, your conflicts, and your progress. The alien paused, looking at each human in turn. The weapon Dr. Carter identified is indeed evident throughout your development, Zexatral continued. What troubles us is not merely that it exists, but that you continue to use it against yourselves even now. Alan felt a chill run through him. The aliens had been watching Earth for decades. They had seen the good and the bad of humanity. One of the insect-like aliens spoke next. We have observed 7 major conflicts on your planet in just the last 50 years. Each one involved this weapon Dr. Carter described, the denial of others' humanity. A floating alien that looked like connected glowing orbs moved forward. We have also seen many humans fight against this weapon. There are those among you who recognize it and work to stop its use. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Zextral spoke again. We have a question for you, Dr. Carter, the alien commander said. If this idea is so deadly, why has your species not eliminated it? Other dangerous weapons are controlled or banned. Why not this one? All eyes turned to Alan. He had not expected to be singled out again. He took a deep breath before answering. Ideas are not like physical weapons, Alan explained. We can't lock them away or destroy them. They live in our minds and spread from person to person. They can hide in different forms. Alan paused, trying to find the right words. But more importantly, the same human ability that creates this weapon is also what makes us human. Our ability to think, to imagine others as different from ourselves. This can be used for terrible things, but it's also how we create art, science, and understanding. A murmur went through the alien observers. Their translation devices worked quickly, but some concepts seemed difficult to translate. Are you saying this weapon is necessary? Asked one of the furry, three-eyed aliens. No, Alan said firmly. The weapon, the idea that some people are worth less than others, is never necessary. But the human mind that can create such ideas is also the mind that can recognize them as wrong. Our greatest weakness and our greatest strength come from the same source. The aliens discussed among themselves in sounds that the translators didn't convert. It went on for several minutes while the humans waited nervously. Finally, Zexatral raised a limb for silence. We have reached a decision, the commander announced. The Galactic Council has protocols for first contact with new species. There are tests all species must pass before being welcomed into the wider community. Lisa stepped forward. We understand. Earth is ready to prove our worthiness. That remains to be seen, Zexatral said. We propose a specific test for humanity, based on Dr. Carter's answer. The room grew very quiet. Before humanity can be considered for membership, you must demonstrate your ability to recognize and counteract your deadliest weapon in a meaningful way, Zextral explained. You will have 1 Earth year to address a significant instance of this weapon's use within your global society. The humans looked at each other in confusion. What exactly were the aliens asking for? You want us to solve all human conflict in 1 year? Asked Nick, one of the scientists on the team. No, replied Zextral. We are not naive. But we want to see if humans can identify when they are using this weapon and take real steps to stop it. We want to see if you can put Dr. Carter's awareness into practice. The alien commander moved closer to the humans. If you succeed, we will begin the process of welcoming Earth into the Galactic Council. If you fail, we will withdraw and wait another century before reconsidering contact. The human team was stunned. This was both an opportunity and a heavy burden. 1 year to prove that humanity could recognize its worst tendencies and change them. We accept your challenge, Lisa said after a quick discussion with the team. Good, said Zextral. You will return to Earth today. A small observer team will remain in orbit to monitor your progress. We will not interfere, only watch. As the IBUI humans prepared to leave, one of the alien council members approached Alan privately. This alien looked almost like a tall human, but with silver skin and 4 arms. Your answer surprised us, human, the alien said. Most species identify their most destructive technology. You are the first to identify a concept as your deadliest weapon. Is that good or bad? Alan asked. It is interesting, the alien replied. It suggests your species might have the self-awareness needed to survive your technological adolescence. Many species do not. Alan thought about this as they boarded the shuttle to return to Earth. The pressure on them was enormous now. They had 1 year to show that humans could recognize when they were falling into the trap of seeing others as less than human. As Earth grew larger in the shuttle windows, Alan wondered if they had been given an impossible task. Could humanity really change patterns that had existed for thousands of years? And who would decide what problem they should try to solve? The shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere, and Alan knew that the real challenge was just beginning. When the human delegation returned to Earth, they were met with a mix of excitement and worry. World leaders gathered at the United Nations headquarters in New York to hear about the meeting with the aliens. The large room was packed with people from every country. Lisa and Alan stood at the front of the room. They explained what had happened on the alien ship and the challenge that the Galactic Council had given them. "We have 1 year," Lisa said. 1 year to show that humans can recognize when we're using our deadliest weapon, the idea that some people are worth less than others, and take real steps to stop it. The room erupted with voices. Some leaders were angry. "This is interference in human affairs," shouted one man in a blue suit. "These aliens have no right to test us. How dare they judge us," said another. "They should be asking to join us, not the other way around." Others were more thoughtful. "Perhaps this is a chance to address problems we've been ignoring," suggested a woman in a yellow dress. "The aliens might have given us a gift, a reason to work together." The debate went on for hours. Some nations wanted nothing to do with the aliens or their test. Others saw it as an opportunity. By the end of the day, the United Nations was deeply divided. Alan sat quietly during most of the debate. He felt responsible for this situation. If he had given a different answer about humanity's deadliest weapon, they might not be in this position now. After 3 days of arguments, the UN Security Council made a decision. They would accept the aliens' challenge, but they would do it their own way. They created a new group called the Common Ground Initiative and put Alan and Lisa in charge of it. "Your answer got us into this," the UN Secretary told Alan. "Now, you need to help get us through it." The Common Ground Initiative was given a building in Geneva, Switzerland. They had a team of 50 people from around the world: scientists, teachers, diplomats, and communication experts. Their job was to identify a major human conflict and show that people could overcome their tendency to dehumanize each other. "Where do we even start?" Lisa asked during their first team meeting. "There are so many conflicts in the world. We need to choose carefully," Alan replied. "The aliens will be watching everything we do. We need a problem that's serious but can show real progress in a year." After much discussion, they decided to focus on a growing conflict that threatened to divide humanity in dangerous ways. It was between people who supported artificial intelligence technology and those who feared it would destroy human jobs and eventually human control. This conflict was getting worse every day. AI supporters saw the technology as humanity's next big step forward. Those against it believed it would create a world where most humans became poor and powerless. There had already been protests, fights, and even bombings of AI research centers. "This is perfect," Alan told the team. "It's not about race or religion or old hatreds. It's about fear of the future, which everyone can understand. And it affects the whole world, not just one region." The Common Ground team designed a 3-part plan. First, they would bring together leaders from both sides for real conversations, not just arguments. Second, they would create education programs to help people understand both the benefits and risks of AI. Third, they would develop rules for AI development that both sides could accept. The alien observers watched from their ship in orbit. They sent a message saying they approved of the chosen conflict but would not help in any way. Humans needed to solve this problem themselves. The work began. Alan and Lisa traveled around the world, meeting with AI company leaders and the people who opposed them. At first, these meetings were tense and difficult. "You are trying to replace humans with machines," shouted Sam Green, the leader of a group called Humans First, during one meeting in Chicago. "You don't care about the millions who will lose their jobs." "That's not true," replied Dr. Ellen Patel, a leading AI researcher. "We're creating tools to help humans, not replace them. You're just afraid of progress." Alan stepped between them. "You both want what's best for humanity," he said. "You just disagree about what that means. Can we start there? With what you have in common?" Slowly, meeting by meeting, they made progress. They found common values that both sides shared: human dignity, fairness, and a good future for children. They built on these shared values to develop principles for responsible AI development, but not everyone wanted peace. 4 months into the project, someone bombed the largest AI research center in San Francisco. 3 people died, and many more were hurt. The bomber left a message: "Death to the machine lovers." The attack threatened to undo all their progress. Supporters of AI were angry and afraid. Many wanted revenge against anti-AI groups, even though most of these groups had condemned the bombing. The Common Ground team worked day and night to keep the situation from exploding into widespread violence. Alan appeared on news programs around the world. "This is exactly what we're fighting against," he said. The bomber didn't see AI researchers as real people with families and rights. He turned them into enemies who deserve to die. "This is our deadliest weapon at work." Lisa organized a memorial service for those who died. She made sure that leaders from both pro-AI and anti-AI groups attended together and stood side by side. "We can disagree without dehumanizing each other," she told the crowd. "That's what makes us different from our worst weapons. That's what makes us human." 6 months into the year-long challenge, the Common Ground initiative faced both progress and setbacks. They had created dialogue where there had been only shouting before. They had developed educational programs that were being used in schools around the world. But the bombing had shown how deep the divisions still were. Alan often looked up at the night sky, knowing the aliens were watching. Were they seeing humanity's capacity for hatred, or its ability to overcome that hatred? He wasn't sure, but he knew they had to keep trying. As they reached the halfway point of their year-long challenge, Alan received a message from the alien ship. It was short, but gave him hope. "Progress noted," it said. "Continue." The second half of the year brought new challenges for the Common Ground initiative. What had started as a project to impress the aliens had become something much more important to Alan and Lisa. They truly believed they could help heal one of humanity's deepest divisions, but time was running short. They had only 6 more months to show real progress before the Galactic Council would make their decision. The alien ship remained in orbit, silent except for that one short message of encouragement. Alan sat in his office in Geneva, looking at reports from around the world. The bombing in San Francisco had not been the last act of violence. There had been 3 more attacks on AI research centers, though thankfully no one else had died. There had also been attacks on anti-AI group offices. The cycle of revenge was hard to break. Lisa entered his office with coffee for both of them. "You look tired," she said. "I am tired," Alan admitted. "I'm beginning to think we chose a problem too big to solve in a year." Lisa sat down across from him. "We don't need to solve it completely. The aliens just want to see that we can recognize the problem and make real progress." "But are we making progress?" Alan asked. "Sometimes it feels like we take 1 step forward and 2 steps back." Just then, Alan's phone rang. It was Sam Green, the leader of Humans First, the largest anti-AI group. Sam had been one of their toughest opponents at the beginning, but over the months he had slowly become more willing to talk. "Turn on your TV," Sam said when Alan answered. "Channel 7, now." Alan grabbed the remote and turned on the television. Lisa moved closer to watch. On the screen was Dr. Ellen Patel, the AI researcher who had often argued with Sam. She was standing at a podium with Sam beside her. "Today we are announcing something important," Dr. Patel said to the cameras. "The Future Tech Alliance and Humans First have agreed to a set of principles for responsible AI development." Sam stepped to the microphone. "We still have concerns about how fast AI is developing, but we also recognize that fighting against it completely isn't the answer. We need a voice in how it develops." Alan and Lisa watched in amazement as the 2 former enemies explained their agreement. AI companies would slow down development of certain types of AI that could replace too many jobs too quickly. They would also include regular people, not just experts in decisions about AI rules and uses. In return, anti-AI groups would stop calling for a complete ban and would condemn any violence against researchers. They did this on their own, Lisa said, her eyes wide. We brought them together, but they found common ground by themselves. Alan smiled for the first time in weeks. This is exactly what we hoped would happen. Over the next 2 months, the Common Ground educational programs spread to more schools around the world. They taught children and adults alike how to recognize when they were starting to see others as enemies rather than as people with different views. These programs were making a difference. Polls showed that fewer people saw the AI debate as a fight between good and evil. More saw it as a complex problem where both sides had valid concerns, but not everyone was happy with the progress. Some hardliners on both sides felt betrayed by the compromise. They called Sam and Dr. Patel traitors and sellouts. There were threats against both of them. The Common Ground team worked closely with police to protect the people who were building bridges between the opposing sides. They also started a new campaign called See the Person, which showed the real lives of people on both sides of the AI debate. These stories helped remind everyone that behind every position was a human being with hopes and fears. 9 months into the project, Alan was invited to speak at a global technology conference in Tokyo. He stood on stage looking out at thousands of people from around the world. 1 year ago, I told aliens that humanity's deadliest weapon was our ability to see others as less than human, Alan began. I still believe that's true, but I've learned something important since then. Our greatest weapon against that deadly idea is connection, real human connection. The crowd was silent, listening carefully. When we truly listen to someone we disagree with, when we try to understand their fears and hopes, it becomes much harder to see them as an enemy, Alan continued. This doesn't mean we will always agree, but it means we can disagree without hating. After his speech, a young woman approached Alan. She had tears in her eyes. My brother and I stopped talking 3 years ago because of the AI debate, she said. He works for an AI company, and I was part of a group fighting against AI. After going through your program at my workplace, I called him last week. We're talking again. It's not easy, but we're family first, not enemies. Stories like this gave Alan hope. As the year-long challenge entered its final months, the Common Ground initiative had created tools that people could use long after the aliens made their decision. The educational programs were being used in 87 countries. The See the Person campaign had reached millions of people online. The principles for responsible AI that Sam and Dr. Patel had agreed to were being adopted by more companies and governments every week. But there was still violence. There were still people who refused to see their opponents as fully human. The problem wasn't solved, not completely. With just 1 month left before they would face the Galactic Council again, Alan and Lisa met to prepare their report. You think we've done enough? Lisa asked. Alan looked out the window at the people walking by on the Geneva street below. I don't know. We haven't eliminated the weapon. Maybe we never will. But we've shown that we can recognize it. Lisa pointed. Ow. And we've created ways to fight against it. Alan nodded. I hope that's enough because I've realized something important this year. What's that? Lisa asked. I don't care as much about joining the Galactic Council as I did at the beginning, Alan said. I care about making humans better at being human. If we can do that, the aliens will want to join us. As the final days counted down, the alien ship moved closer to Earth. Soon, the human delegation would return to face their judgment. Alan packed the reports, videos, and data they had collected over the year. He believed they had made real progress. But would the aliens agree? That question kept him awake at night. The day before they were scheduled to return to the alien ship, Alan received a call from an unknown number. Dr. Carter, said a voice he didn't recognize. I have information about a planned attack. It's going to happen tomorrow and it will undo everything you've worked for. Alan's heart raced as he listened to the caller. The voice was male, young, and frightened. Who is this? Alan asked. What kind of attack? My name doesn't matter, the caller said. I'm part of a group called Pure Earth. We believe the aliens are here to take over, not to help. We've planned something big for tomorrow when you go back to their ship. Alan gripped the phone tighter. What have you planned? Please, you need to stop it. It's too late, the voice said. I'm only calling because I've been watching you this past year. The common groundwork made me think. I still believe the aliens are dangerous, but killing people isn't right. Killing people? Alan felt sick. What exactly is going to happen? A bomb, the caller whispered. When the shuttle goes up to the alien ship tomorrow, it's supposed to look like the aliens attacked you. Pure Earth thinks this will turn humans against the aliens and unite Earth. That's insane, Alan said. It would start a war we can't win, and innocent people will die. Please help me stop this. There was a long pause. I'll try, the caller finally said. But be careful tomorrow. Don't trust the regular security team. Some of them are with us. The line went dead. Alan immediately called Lisa and the UN Security Council. Emergency meetings were held throughout the night. Security plans were changed. The regular team that was supposed to escort them was replaced with a special force. The launch site was moved from New York to a military base in the desert. By morning, they thought they had prevented the attack. But Alan was still nervous as he, Lisa, and the rest of the human delegation boarded the shuttle. The alien ship waited in orbit above Earth. The shuttle launched smoothly. As they rose through the clouds, Alan began to relax. Maybe the caller had helped stop the attack after all. Halfway to the alien ship, one of the security officers suddenly stood up. He pulled out a hidden gun. For Pure Earth, he shouted, aiming at the pilot. But before he could fire, Lisa threw her briefcase at his head. The gun went off, hitting the ceiling. 2 other security officers tackled the man. In the struggle, the gun fired again. Alan felt a sharp pain in his side. He looked down and saw blood spreading across his shirt. He had been shot. Alan! Lisa cried, rushing to his side. I'm okay, Alan said, though he wasn't sure if that was true. The pain was getting worse. Just get us to the ship. The rest of the journey passed in a blur of pain for Alan. When they docked with the alien ship, medical help was waiting. The aliens had been monitoring the shuttle and knew something had happened. Alien doctors took Alan to their medical bay. Their medicine was far more advanced than Earth's. They stopped the bleeding and gave him something for the pain. Within an hour, Alan felt well enough to join the others for the meeting with the Galactic Council. The great circular room was just as Alan remembered it. The 17 alien species watched as the human delegation entered. High Commander Zextral stood at the center. We observed the incident on your shuttle, Zextral said. Are you well, Dr. Carter? I'll survive, Alan replied. But what happened shows that we still have much work to do on Earth. Indeed, said Zextral. We have reviewed your year of work through the Common Ground Initiative. We have watched your efforts to address the weapon you identified. Now is the time for our judgment. The room fell silent. This was the moment they had worked toward all year. Lisa stepped forward with Alan, supporting him as he walked. Before you give your judgment, she said, we want to be honest. We haven't eliminated the problem. There are still those who see others as enemies, as less than human. What happened on the shuttle proves that. Alan nodded. We don't claim to have solved humanity's oldest problem, but we've made progress. We've developed tools to recognize when we're falling into old patterns of hatred. We've created systems to bring opposing sides together. And most importantly, Lisa added, we've helped people see that you can disagree with someone without dehumanizing them. You can recognize someone's humanity even when you don't share their views. Commander Zexatral's skin shifted through colors as the alien considered their words. The other council members made soft sounds that the translators didn't convert. We never expected you to eliminate the weapon completely, Zextral finally said. That would be impossible in a single year, perhaps impossible ever. What we wanted to see was whether humans could recognize the weapon when it was being used and take meaningful steps against it. The commander moved closer to Alan and Lisa. Your species remains dangerous, Zexatral acknowledged. But we now understand that you possess something equally powerful, the ability to see your own darkness. This self-reflection is rare among sentient species. Most either destroy themselves or others before achieving it. The council members spoke among themselves for several minutes. Then Zextral announced their decision. The Galactic Council has voted. Humanity will not receive full membership yet. That would take generations more growth, but you will be granted observer status and limited technology exchange. We see potential in your species that merits further development. Relief washed over the human delegation. It wasn't everything they had hoped for, but it was a beginning, a chance to learn and grow with the guidance of more advanced civilizations. As they prepared to return to Earth, Commander Zextral took Alan aside. "You could have lied when I first asked about your deadliest weapon," the alien said. "You could have hidden your species' true nature." "What would have been the point?" Alan replied. "You would have discovered it eventually. Better to be honest about who we are and what we're capable of, both the terrible and the wonderful." Zextral's sensory appendages pulsed with what the translation software identified as thoughtful consideration. "We have much to learn from each other," the commander said finally. "Perhaps your deadliest weapon may yet become your greatest strength." "How could that be possible?" Alan asked. "The same ability that lets you see others as less than human also lets you see possibilities that don't yet exist," Zextral explained. "You can imagine better versions of yourselves. You can dream of worlds that have never been. This imagination is dangerous, yes, but it is also remarkable." As the shuttle carried them back to Earth, Alan looked out the window at his home planet. The blue and green world seemed both small and precious from space. The alien ship would remain in orbit. Representatives from the Galactic Council would come to Earth to begin the technology exchange. Human observers would travel to other worlds to learn. It was just the beginning of a long journey. Humanity still had much growing to do, but they had passed their first test. They had shown that they could face their darkest tendency and work to overcome it. Alan smiled despite the pain in his side. He wondered what the aliens would ask of humanity next, and what they would learn from each other in the years to come. Whatever happened, he was certain of one thing. The most important journey wasn't to the stars, but into the human heart, where both their deadliest weapons and their greatest hopes had always lived.